It is a damn good day to have a damn good day. We're live. Stephanie Veloso, you're here. You're in the building. You're pretty in pink, and you look fabulous.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thanks for making this happen. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's super excited. And one thing I want to call out right in the beginning is I love that when we connected, you said, hey, let's get coffee.
Yeah.
The dying act, right? It's something that people just don't meet up enough. They don't just say hi and get to meet each other. And I just think that it's something so simple, but maybe it's because of the COVID world, but I love that.
I mean, I think even pre-COVID, I think people don't speak to each other. People don't know how to sit or be with each other. They don't know how to even look at each other. You see people get so uncomfortable because we're so used to doing this on the phone that I think it's hard for people to kind of hold eye contact even. So for me, I'm very old school and I love to meet people face to face. I feel like that's the only way you know if like you vibe.
And the fun, like that's something I loved. My first impression was you is that you're so comfortable in your skin. You're just so like, you know who you are. You are such a kind, friendly person and the vibes are strong.
Thank you. I try. I'm for sure, I think very social creature. And yeah, if you leave me alone, I mean, I'll talk to your bookshelf.
And I think a big piece of that, and just from the low level of conversation that we've originally had, was being able to, you've had a crazy life. Like you've been in it, around it. Like you've probably lived 3 or 4 lifetimes already.
Yeah.
And most people haven't had the experiences you've had.
No, it's true. I think if a cat has 9 lives, I've already lived through a good 4 or 5 of them. I think so.
That's gnarly. Yeah. And the experiences is everything. It's funny that experiences are what shape your human experience.
Yes.
Like most people that have gone through hardships or have gone through crazy ups and downs or adversity, those are the type of people that have evolved, turned into just diamonds and strengthened their craft. But if everything's always easy, it's just you never face adversity. You just turn into a straight powder puff girl, you know?
Yeah, I definitely think that, you know, they're cliches for a reason, but I think that having obstacles and having adversity in your life and, you know, having things that you constantly need to overcome, those are the only way to really build character. You know, I think that for me, some of my character definitely came from having 2 incredible parents with a lot of really great core values. You know, they're very old school. But everything else that shaped me was the hands-on experiences. It's like being in the field, in the Miami trenches.
And you were born and raised Miami.
I wasn't born here, actually. Yeah.
Where were you born again?
A lot of people don't know that. So I was actually born in New York.
Shout out.
Uh-oh.
The city?
In the city. I was born in the city. As much as I joke about transplants, technically I'm one. But my parents are both 100% Brazilian, so I identify fully as a Brazilian gringa.
That's a great title. And we're both Albany, New Yorkers, so upstate New York.
Nice.
Shout out.
Okay.
And Brazilians party harder than anyone else I've ever met on this planet, and that's a fact.
Yeah. I think the only people who have ever given me a run for my money have been maybe the Irish, possibly the British, but I mean it's pretty close.
I remember I was in Methuen, Massachusetts, and there was this really big Brazilian population, and my friend invited me to this party. He's like, yeah, it's like a friend of a friend. It's some 4-year-old's birthday party. Okay. And I'm like, that sounds some sketchy thing I should not be invited to. And I pull up, and it's like 200 people rager throwing this amazing backyard full, you know, the kebab, the great food, great grilling, kebabs and all that stuff. They were going ham. And I noticed like a lot of the older women, like straight moms, were raging. Yeah. You don't see that in just white culture.
No,
you don't see it.
No, I do feel like it is a uniquely Brazilian thing. I think that something I love about my people and my culture is that everything seems to be a reason or cause for celebration. And when you go to Brazil, if you ever get the chance to experience things like carnival, you know, festivals, things like that, you find that it's the one thing that no matter how polarized the country is and continues to become, it just unites everyone. You know, the richest of the rich, the poorest of the poor, the middle class, whoever you are, everyone just gets together to have a really great time and a really massive party.
Is that how you would define carnival? Just a really good time and a massive party?
Yeah. And it's a spectacle too. Like, I know it's very popular, and it's very, you know, it's stereotypically supposed to be like these beautiful women in the bikinis and they're in the parades, and yes, that's a part of it, but I just, you know, the experience of it when you're in it, when you're really there, not when you're watching it, is so immersive. There's just this energy. Kind of like when you go to, I don't know, like going to a basketball game versus watching on TV.
Right.
Isn't there this like palpable energy that you feel, or at a concert when you see somebody live?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like the air is just vibrating.
I would say that the most sport-wise is baseball for that, because baseball is just miserable to watch. But when you're there in person, I think it's way more exciting because people around you, and it's like, let's go. We just had DJ M. Dot on the podcast. He's the DJ for the Miami
for the Heat, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Good energy.
I love it. Yeah, he's I think he's the successor for DJ Irie, my very good friend.
I think they co-host it.
Oh, they're working together now.
Something like that. Okay. I believe it says co-host on his bio.
He referenced him as his mentor.
Oh,
DJ
okay.
Irie
Yeah, I'm sure, because
correct.
Irie's from like my time. I'm kind of dating myself when I say that, but yeah, Irie was the OG of that. I remember Irie not just even at the Heat games, but he was always known for going to this club called Mansion, which was the hottest club in all of Miami back in the day. Like, all the celebrities were there. Leonardo DiCaprio, George Clooney, you know, Jay-Z was there, Fat Joe, like everybody you can name. And I remember that right after the games, Irie would head there. He would get into the DJ booth and he would just start taking back, at the time it was Patron shots. Patron was the coolest. And he would just start just like DJing, going crazy. He'd like rip his shirt off, and people loved it. He always got the crowd hype.
People went nuts.
Yeah, yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, you're surrounded by such crazy, interesting people at such a young age.
Yeah.
Most people just don't have that experience.
Yeah.
How would you like describe something like that?
It's something that's unique. I mean, it feels uniquely Miami, and I'm sure also a bit in LA that some of that was happening, but there's something about the energy in Miami that historically I think helped people really let their guard down, right? So I'm about to be 35. So when I was 15, 18, 20, 21, and we went out, there was no iPhone, there was no social media, there was no really documenting it, unless you had like your digital camera in your bag or in your pocket. So I think people were really able to let loose and have a good time, and people still socialized, like we said earlier. And so when celebrities would come here, you know, it's a humid tropical climate. So you're already in like vacation mentality, and you would go into these clubs and you weren't really worried that somebody was going to kind of be recording you or, you know, taking pictures or video, because there was
just way more open and savage and less gated.
Yeah, people were relaxed. So sometimes you would really get to the club like Mansion or these other big places that were, you know, kind of super hot at the time, and you'd sit down and you'd like look over and you'd be like, hey, move over, my friend's coming. And when you did a double take, you're like, oh, you were literally shoving like Paris Hilton aside or whoever, and you're like, oh, okay, well, scoot over anyway because my friend's gonna sit here, you know. And that's just kind of how it was. And by the end of the night, you were friends with them.
That's interesting. And it's interesting too when you meet people and you find out that they're just people, right? And they're not just this name that they've built for themselves.
Yeah. I mean, that's really what it is. I think I have been fortunate enough, and sometimes just accidentally have become friends with people who are quote unquote somebodies and bold-faced names. But it's always been because I treated them exactly the way that I would treat anybody else who was in that situation, whether it was a friend, whether it was the host, the promoter, the busboy. These are people. They cut, they bleed, they're, you know, born, they're going to die. And at the end of the day, I think approaching a lot of them with that attitude helps them kind of meet you eye to eye.
That's so true. Me and Sky were having a deep conversation the other day about death, as bad as it sounds. And generally speaking, when you're by yourself and you think about sketchy things like that, it freaks you out. But when you're with a group of people and you talk about crazy shit, you feel so much more comfortable talking about things. And the point of this is that I think people are just we're supposed to be like social animals. Like we're supposed to be part of a tribe. Yeah. And if you can meet people eye to eye, I mean, you can network and connect with anybody in this world, but you got to believe that there's something that you can offer.
Yeah, I think, listen, and even if you can't offer something at a certain point, I think if you just approach them from a place, like you say, not to get too woo-woo, but a place of humanity and understanding that we're all just having this conversation, whether it is about death or about life, or I think common experiences that we can all share and relate to. Most people I think are going to chime in and say, hey, you know what? I went through that too. I feel that way too. I'm scared to die. Or, hey, I got bullied. Or, hey, you know, I went through a weird, awkward phase in puberty. Like, who hasn't gone through those experiences? So I think, to your point, if you can find a way to find a commonality and to offer something, maybe not even material, but just offer something to the conversation, I think people usually will connect to that.
Yeah, I agree. It's finding common ground about something that makes you human, and not just being this thing that people think is what they want to be. And I just think that you need to put yourself out there at some level, which you've done such a good job doing. I love your brand. I promise the world that you will become like you're already on your up and up, but your path is just going straight up. And it's just great because you're so authentic, you're real, you're fun, and you enjoy yourself, and people can see that. I mean, you're doing the roast, you're low key a straight up comedian. I mean, how did you get to a point where you decided, you know what, I'm going to start building this brand?
It was an accident. That in particular was never my original intention. I have always had maybe some commentary or maybe too much commentary, whether it's going on in my head or whether it's literally me unable to stop it and sharing my opinion at all times, sometimes to my detriment. That's always been a thing I've kind of had, a quality, I guess. But I was just having a conversation with a really good friend who's been around as long as I have, maybe a little longer. And she and I were talking about the scene and back in the day and what Miami was like and kind of comparing and contrasting to today. And while we were doing that, we started talking about, you know, a couple of the condos that were very notorious for parties or for shady Miami activities or for all sorts of other things. And somewhere through that conversation, I don't know, we just found ourselves cracking up. And my friend, you know, she said to me, she's like, why don't you just get on TikTok and say all this? And I'm like, no one's going to listen to me on TikTok. I'm old. Like, TikTok is for 14-year-olds doing dances and stuff. You know what I mean? And I don't know. Somehow she convinced me. I did it. I went to sleep. And literally the next day, I woke up to like 10 texts from her. And she's like, log on right now. And when I opened it, it had blown up.
The first one.
Yeah, the first one. I swear.
That's amazing.
So that's kind of how it started. But I mean, prior to that.
But that's a big lesson right there, is that if you have something to say it. Yeah. TikTok for sure is the play because their algorithms crush it. Yeah. And if you got good stuff and you make it fun, people will watch.
Yeah, I think people will watch anything. I think you know, I never do anything, I think, with bad intentions. It's all kind of good-natured when I roast people, obviously, and I always include myself in the joke and as part of the butt of the joke. But I think that anytime that you can make people feel something and feel some type of way, maybe they are a little offended or maybe it hits too close to home, I think two things have happened. Number one, you've done your job, right? You've said something that's real and true, or else people wouldn't relate to it. They would kind of shove it aside. And really, more than anything, I think that you've stirred something up in people. And I think that more than ever, people want to feel something that, for good or for bad, kind of leans more in a controversial direction, let's say. You know,
people love the drama. People love the spark and the excitement. I mean, that's what sells. And if you can do that on a galactic level, now you're a media company.
Yeah. No, really, truly. If you look at some people and how they've gotten where they've gotten, I mean, there's a gentleman that obviously got into the highest office in the land, I think, at least partially by stirring up controversy. You know, I mean, you can't deny it.
For sure.
Yeah.
A king had it.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think
the more effed up, society loves it, right? Like the Will Smith slap that blew life up. People just went nuts over that. It became the #1 sensation for the whole week until the next crazy thing comes out, and then no one cares.
And then everyone forgets, right? But I think I actually was looking at the statistics or the ratings. I think that was the highest rated Oscars that they've had, I think, since what? Was it when Ricky Gervais maybe hosted?
I'm not sure.
Was that the Oscars as well?
This guy's checking.
I think so.
Ricky Gervais was so
massive. Good. Love him.
That was amazing.
Love him. One of my idols for sure.
You got really good like Ricky Gervais vibes now that I think about it.
Yeah, I would say he's definitely one of my favorite comedians. A lot of people have informed my comedy. Again, I don't want to be a stand-up comedian, but I would say Ricky for sure. Obviously Chappelle, George Carlin, Paul Mooney, Phyllis Diller. I mean, there's so many people who have been so good.
So you don't want to do stand-up?
No. I want to do more of like, almost like, do you remember Don Rickles?
No.
So Don Rickles, who's before even my time for sure, he did do some stand-up comedy, but he was also known for doing something that was like a very kind of a very elegant version of a roast back in like kind of like the Sinatra heydays, back when you would go to a really nice dinner and you would kind of host the dinner, but you would also kind of give everyone a good ribbing. So I kind of would want to do that. I'm not sure if that could really exist in our climate anymore, you know?
A fabulous roast.
Yeah. No, everyone used to show up to these dinners and they would be like in tuxedos and the women would be wearing their best and their diamonds and whatever. And not just Don Rickles, there were a couple other people too, like Joey Adams was also very, very famous at the time. And he was married to Cindy Adams, who is still alive. I believe she's 91 years old. And she's still writing a regular gossip column for the New York Post, if I'm not mistaken. So her husband, Joey Adams, was known for doing this as well, just kind of roasting people. And I'm talking presidents, I'm talking like heads of state, like everybody, like A-list celebs. So
I think that's so important that people need to be roasted and comedy needs to exist, because it allows people to get alerted and have this like serotonin rush almost. And what I mean is that I just recently saw this show called Absinthe in Las Vegas.
Okay.
My good friend Jordan Adler, the publisher of Beach Money, he's amazing. He said, you need to go to this show. It's the most highly rated show in Vegas. And you go, and they just roasted the audience. And it was hilarious. It was amazing. It was like, I wish it was recorded and published as a Netflix series. Because a couple people, luckily I wasn't in it, but a couple people just got destroyed. But it was fun. It was in good humor and everything. We need more of that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think in this day and age, I know everyone talks about how much fragility there is, but I think people are largely so oversensitive and offended at everything and looking for reasons to be a victim, you know, and to play into victimhood. And I think that that's, you know, really killing comedy. And there's people that say that that's not true, but I think the thing about comedy, to your point, again, was because it was a way of saying something in a way that was funny and seems benign, but really at the end of the day, you know, you could make a political statement, you can make a statement about what's going on in society, you can make a statement about, you know, the world at large, about wars. You found a way to do it in or just bring some levity to something very serious, right? And you did it in a way where everybody could still feel included and everybody could sit back, laugh at themselves, but also have a moment of like, aha, wait, there's another layer to this. This person's really saying something. And I think that the only person who's really able to do that nowadays, I mean, really well, is Chappelle. And even him, I mean, he's paying the price for it now. So I don't know.
Life is way too crazy to not have comedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would just be a dark, not a fun place without comedy. Like, what are you going to do if people just stopped making jokes about things? What would you do on a day-to-day basis?
How do you cope?
How do you how do you cope? How do you converse? How do you make friends? Like, how do you just, because when you're like trash talking your friends, you're building a bond. You know?
Yes.
You know, that's just how it works. Like dudes, dudes are brutal to each other, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's part of the uncoded language of like, it's funny, but I feel like girls are more just like diabolical with it.
I think girls are more sinister, and it's something where people like always ask me. I do these Q&A sessions a lot on my stories, like I did one today, and people always keep bringing up this question to me that's like, so I'm always like, what are you trying to get at? And they always ask me some version of, are you a girl's girl? Are you a feminist? Do you consider yourself a feminist? Like, what is it with you and groups of girls? And I'm like, dude, I'm not aligning myself broadly with any group. I don't care if it's women. I don't care if it's women under 40. I don't care if it's millennials. Like, I want to believe that I can think for myself, that I'm capable of critical thought. And I don't want to, I don't know how else to word it. Having blind allegiance to any cause doesn't work for me, because ultimately the group I think finds a way to walk itself off of the cliff, and I'm not following them off the cliff. For sure. You know what I mean?
You can invent your own thing, your own group. It's not just two parties. Like everyone has you can be somewhere. You can be somewhere, but people want to put you into a cult, put you into a group.
They always want to label you. They want to put you into a box.
And people like it. People like being a part of a group because it's nice, you know?
Yeah. You feel safe, right? Because you feel like you're insulated by this group, and they can protect you. So if you say something crazy, if you kind of throw the rock, you can kind of back in and, you know, just be protected by them. But I don't know. I think that's a little bit cowardly. I think sometimes the need to align yourself with a group constantly is a cowardly act.
For sure. And the people that do that and don't align themselves with a group, it's scary at first, but then they become legendary, you know?
Well, that's how you break the mold, isn't it? By definition and design. That's how you break the mold. You break away from the group. You break away from the standards that have been set or the expectations that are there or the things that have been done before. So I don't know. I'm always going to respect the person who dares to kind of break out on their own or try something risky, you know, instead of the person that's constantly playing it safe.
I think you need to do more of that type of content. Like that's like that's such a good you explain that so well.
That's the plan.
When you go through these roasts, it's like, man.
Yeah. But again, I always like to. I don't need or want the cornerstone of everything I do to be the comedy, but I also always like to revert back to it because I think you're giving somebody, you know, a little bit of slap, but with a little bit of, what was the saying somebody used to say? I have to find it exactly, and I don't know where I read it or saw it, but it was somebody making a joke, and it was somebody in like a pimp costume, or it was like a pimp joke. And you know something he used to always say? This is so not PC, but he used to always say, I will always slap my bitches, but I do it with Neosporin on my hand, so I hurt them and I heal them at the same time. And that is what comedy kind of needs to be.
Pretty accurate.
You need to be the pimp, okay? You need to kind of like wake people up a little bit, slap them around a bit, but you know what? You do it with a little hee at the end, and they take it. They just swallow the medicine a little bit better, you know?
Yeah. Well, everyone loves it when it's not them, right?
Yeah,
that's how the world works, and that's how it should be, right? It should be everyone. It's a fair game. Everyone. But the big thing that's interesting about people is that you can get 10 really good comments, right? 10 comments, and then if there's 11th, and that 11th is just like, you're a piece of shit, like go die. Like the human brain just attaches itself to that one comment and then judges themselves on that one comment, which is why it's interesting. I mean, a huge fan of Joe Rogan, legend. I love his podcast, but it's like, to me, comedians are some of the most just diamond-minded people on this planet because they put themselves in the most horrendous scenarios, just getting mocked at, and like, you can't become a good comedian unless you just bomb many times. Very true. You have to take those risks. That's the thing, right? You have to be willing to be that person who steps out on a limb, you know, like puts themselves on the line. There's actually, you know what? I always reference movies and quotes and stuff. There is a line from the movie Tombstone. I don't know if you remember it. With the line I'm talking about is with Val Kilmer. But it's a great cast and it's a great classic. Billy Bob Thornton, Kurt Russell, just amazing all-star cast. Anyway, there is a line where they're about to have like one of those shootouts, you know, so they used to like come to the middle of the town, the little tumbleweed is blowing by, you know, and they're going to get ready to do their little duel, like draw and like shoot. And there's a point where somebody doesn't want to fight. And Val Kilmer, who's known as kind of like the troublemaker in their Western gang, comes out of the corner and he says, you know, I'll be your Huckleberry. Right? And he says it. And what does he mean when he says that? He goes like, I'll be the one to put myself out and fight you. I'm the guy you're looking for. And I love that line because, again, I think it just goes back to what you're saying about Joe and all these people. Like, these are the people that literally go out on stage night after night, whether you're the guy who's just starting in some janky dive bar or you're Joe Rogan in a freaking stadium that you've sold out night after night, over and over. You really, I think, just put yourself out there to be mocked. You can be jeered. You can be booed off the stage at any point. Doesn't matter how big you get. Because again, look at what's happening to, you know, Dave Chappelle. He's getting a lot of like, you know, kind of like, not kickback. What's the word I'm looking for? But he's just getting a lot of, taking a lot of heat for his commentary. You know what I mean? But yet they show up for sure, night after night. And they're developing calluses, right? Like brain calluses. Where that's a good one. You're brain calluses. Right? You know what I mean? I like that. Maybe that's what your next special is going to be called. Brain calluses. Marinate in the good energy. Have some fun. Crack some jokes. Live a little bit. Yeah. And, you know, take some shit along the way. No, and laugh at yourself. Like you said, sometimes you're the person falling in the pool or slipping or saying something stupid. I really, really think, you know, and it can be referred to as a defense mechanism. And I'm sure a lot of us who are inherently funny have it. I'm sure you have it. We all do. I think all creatives have a little bit of this. But it's just if you're able to kind of make yourself the butt of the joke first, if you're able to get ahead of that joke or ahead of whatever you or somebody else sees as some sort of shortcoming or flaw of yours, then you've already kind of won. Like, nobody can read you if you've read yourself before you left the house.
You know what I'm saying?
Damn.
I'm sure you know. I'm sure
I love
it happens.
that. I love that.
You know, and I'm sure, and you know, even with you, I mean, you're running a show that's about feeling good. It's the Damn Good Day show. It's positive. And I'm sure that even you get people that are haters or leave you mean comments or just being trolls to you.
But I liked what you mentioned with people that put themselves on the roasting block first are the ones that are invincible, like Eminem and 8 Mile, right?
Yes.
That last line, if you want to get stoked to go out on a fun night or just like get ready, you listen to that 8 Mile speech. He just rips himself up. I forgot the line is like, I am white. I am a bum. I do sleep in a trailer with my mom. Yeah. Like he just lets it out and then no one can roast him because he owns it. He owns, if you're bald, if you own being bald, it's cool.
That's it.
You know, I think it's interesting that, you know, we're at the age now where a lot of my friends are getting like hair transplants because they're starting to lose hair and it's a huge buzzkill.
Yeah. I mean, well, I found a couple gray hairs the other day and I wear extensions, as everyone knows. So I'm like, listen, I'm like, but that's the thing. You have to be able to be open, honest, and you have to be able to laugh at it. Like literally, to your point, Eminem went down essentially the list of, it's almost like a docket in court. You know what I mean? It's all the charges being brought against him and he addressed them one by one. What could be more empowering than taking back ownership of all of that by just saying, yeah, it's true. And what? Now what? Like literally, you have nothing left to say against the man because he's aware of everything. He's called it out and he's actually made it part of his art, which I think is something that, again, so many creatives do, whether you're a comedian, whether you're a sculptor, whether you're a painter. Some people use that insecurity or that pain or, you know, just other adversity, things that they've gone through in their life, and they turn it into profit, into an art, into a platform, and they turn it into their own success. And what could be more powerful than that?
Nothing. And at the end of the day, it's you versus you. I think that's a big lesson that everyone needs to remember. It's so easy to get caught up in seeing, for example, yourself and how instantly you're just having this insane success. I mean, it's not an instant. I mean, you've been through decade plus of crazy experiences that have equipped you with the stories and the knowledge to be able to put out this riveting content that people are eating up. But most people aren't going to have that instant success. They're going to have to go through that awkward stage where they're not getting likes, they're not getting comments and all that stuff. But the big thing to remember is it's you versus you, right? You have to be better than where you were last year. You have to be better than where you were the year before. Use other people as inspiration, but don't use that as a thing to get negative about.
No.
You are unique. And if you put yourself out there and just start getting the shimmy in, people are going to find a fellow shimmier and your clan grows and you get better over time naturally.
Like you were saying, everyone's on a different timeline. Everyone's doing things in their own way. Everyone's finding their own path. And I think, again, it just goes back to my earlier point about not feeling the pressure to be part of a group and understanding that, you know, some things are going to be unique to you. And by you striking out on your own and embracing your, you know, unique gift or your unique timeline, whatever it may be, and being outspoken about that, you can not just help yourself, you can inspire other people to understand and to have the courage to do kind of like what you're doing, you know, or to find their own path. So, you know, I think that you can do things in a way where you're benefiting your long term, but you're also helping other people who are going to come after you. You're kind of blazing the trail for them, you know?
I love that. And I feel it's so important to expose yourself to it. Yeah. Because that's the only way to find out. Like, I love network marketing and direct sales, and I'm a huge proponent of it. Like, I worked for companies. I have my own company. I work in network marketing. And I got to say, MLM has taught me more lessons than all those things combined for sure. Because you surround yourself with a bunch of people that believe things are possible and are going to support you. And it's not like weird to think that. Yeah. And then you start meeting some jabronis that become absolute success savages. And you realize, no, maybe you were the jabroni all along. Yeah. You know? If you can get approached into the world, then there's a chance for you to grow. But if you just never step out of your bubble, I think that's what happens to some people. They just never step out of their bubble. They start doing the same thing over and over. Years go by and they never try a new experience. Yeah. And it's like a oak tree that has no sun.
Yeah, I think it's I think a lot of it's fear, you know, and again, it goes back to groupthink, it goes back to societal pressure. I think a lot of people or parental pressure even. Some people are expected to do something because, mom and dad went to Ivy League schools, so now I have my option of these Ivy League schools. And, dad was in the medical field, so I have to be in the medical field. Or, all the women in my small town in, wherever are all, wearing such and such. They have the same haircut. They get married by a certain age. They have kids. Like whatever it is, wherever there can be group pressure, I think people are succumbing to it. But again, I think that our work as people is to constantly be fighting our fears. And our fears, once again, to your point, come in that battle of us versus us. It's myself against myself. That's ultimately, and in the final analysis, what I think life comes down to. Because, again, we are born alone. We die alone. We have this short little exciting little blip in the middle, right? And we have a small little chance and window to do what we can. Some of us get more time than others. But, at the risk of sounding very kumbaya, I think that we do have a responsibility, if to no one else and nothing else but ourselves, to live as boldly and as well as we can, whatever that means to us. And each person has to define it for themselves.
I'll drink to that. Cheers to that. Well said. That's everything. Yeah. And it also goes back to friends. Connections and people, having good people in your life. Yeah. I love the reality that one of my dad's friends was asking, like, what are tips to help, her daughter make some more friends, right? It's making friends is difficult for some people, and that's totally okay. And it's interesting though, but to have a friend, to have good friends, you have to be a good friend. Yes. Right? And you have to be willing to put yourself on the line to learn. It's okay if you're a good friend and it comes back to haunt you. Yeah. But don't be bitter about it. Yeah. Don't have any time for bitterness. It's just there's too much good, cool people. Like I didn't even know you until I sent you a DM, right? Through this stuff. Yeah. And now you're just the best. I could just I'm so grateful I met you.
Yeah. And now we're friends. Look how easy that was.
Here we are. Yeah. Anyone can do that. Anyone can build a brand. Anyone can build a platform. And just start networking and meeting people and having good intentions, and good things happen when you just put good people together.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's what sticks out to me. I think it's two things you said, right? It's the good intentions, it's good people, it's taking that risk, but it's also about, I think one of the first things you said today, and it was just about like seeing what you can offer to people, right? And I was having this conversation with a very good friend of mine, someone you should probably talk to, Mark Megna. He is the owner of The Anatomy, the gyms. He's one of the main partner owners.
Anatomy,
he's a
awesome.
Tremendous athlete, a tremendous human being. And I think when we were having a conversation not that long ago, I think he was asking me, he's kind of like, what would your advice be to other people that are trying to make it or get anywhere? What should they do? What's the first thing or first step they should take? And I'm like, well, for me... and that's my ringtone.
That's amazing. By the way, ringback tones are making a comeback. We were just at the store looking at boxes for cigars, and I won't say his name, but he had a ringback tone of like Katy Perry, and
Katy Perry.
My man's like in his late 50s, early 60s. He's just shining.
Remember when there was like voicemail, when you would call voicemails? Were you from the era where you used to record part of a song and put it as your voicemail greeting? That's a little. I just dated myself.
I was just thinking like, I want to swing on a chandelier. I think I tried to do that once.
That's what people used to do back when I was like 13, 14. When I was a teenager, people used to literally get to the part where you could record your voicemail greeting, and instead of putting like a, hey, Stephanie, it's me, blah, 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 I can't get to the phone, leave a message, blah, 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 whatever, you would literally just record part of your favorite song.
Do you remember your song you used on your MySpace? Like your first song?
Ooh. Let me think if I remember.
I remember mine clearly. It was Austin Powers ¡1 spot, and I had this whole like Austin Powers theme, which probably was not conducive towards my like social society at the time. Oh my God. But I thought it was the shit.
Of course, you thought it was super cool.
The coolest.
I like how you give Austin Powers the credit for that song. Isn't that ludicrous?
But it's like Austin Powers.
Well, association, right? The soundtrack.
Yeah. It's like.
Oh, it was the remix. Oh,
with Luda over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was Luda's song.
But yeah, I mean, it's fully Austin.
That also shows you how old or how young you are, right? Because like for me, like the original Austin is like the original little song where he comes out dancing. And then there was also the Madonna version. Madonna did one for, which movie was it? Was it the second one? Beautiful Stranger with Madonna.
Beautiful Stranger.
Yeah, and she did a music video with Mike Myers, obviously in costume, full blown Austin Powers. That was before the Luda one. I'm almost certain. What year was that?
That was 1999, and The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Wow.
The Spy Who Shagged Me, legendary.
I just took it, and Luda was probably like 2006, like 2009.
Luda.
Love him.
I cut you off once.
2004 was the Luda song.
Yeah,
there you go.
That song.
That's a pretty big gap.
That song slaps. So that means I was like 13, 14. Yeah, 13, 14.
Wait, how old are you now?
29.
Fuck. Yeah. 35. I'm like,
You look like you're like 21.
Thank you. I'll accept that kindly. I wear a lot of sunscreen in this,
The Brazilians, they age well. I think a lot of South Americans generally, I think, age really well.
I think depending where we're from, right? Because Brazil, people tend to there's a stereotype that we worship the sun, and a lot of us do. Me personally, not so much. I actually hate the beach. I did used to go to the tanning salon a lot. I had a job. One of my first jobs was at a tanning salon. So, but I don't know. I just know that somewhere along the way, I became really obsessed with sunscreen and really obsessed with just staying out. I mean, I still drive with a full visor on. You can't even see my face when I'm driving. People look at me and they're like, what is she doing?
What SPF do you use?
At least 50, never less than 50.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Because being sunburned, I feel that's a huge step up to becoming an adult when you realize that SPF is your best friend.
Yeah. No, it truly is. And you can get into the whole tinfoil wearer conspiracy theory thing about toxicity and stuff. But listen, I don't care. It can be toxic. It can be killing me. I'm going to be the best looking corpse at the funeral. All right. That's all I know. I'm wearing my SPF. I don't care what it's doing.
I don't need any melanoma today. Right.
Yeah, no, not
I am white. All right. I am super white. It is what it is.
Do you tan at all or do you just burn?
I just burn.
You just burn, right? I was going to say.
30 minutes, no sunscreen, I'm getting burnt.
You're the skin type. What was this? I don't know if I can remember anymore.
My skin is not conducive towards being a flexible human because I just get eaten alive by bugs too.
Oh, no.
I got the best tasting skin and I just burn quickly,
You're like the Wagyu beef of skin types. You're in high demand by all the mosquitoes.
Oh my gosh, if that was on a dating profile, I'd be
You should add that. You should add that to your Hinge or your Tinder.
Maybe you can adjust it for me.
I'll help you with that.
Help me word that correctly.
Oh my God.
Could go the wrong way. But you got to attract the right people into your life, so you got to make sure you be who you are.
Yeah. Which reminds me, what's up with dating apps? What do we think about dating apps? Are they a necessary evil?
I think you go through, I go through waves throughout my life with dating apps. Is that when you get into a dating app, you get super fired up about it. You have all this new energy and excitement, and then you're starting. You go on some dates. You don't do enough background research, and you go on one or two bad dates, and then you're just over it. You're like, this sucks. Dating apps suck, and then you just delete them.
Wait, you actually get to the point where you actually go on the dates?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's better than me.
That's the point of it, is to meet up with the person, right?
Oh, is it?
You're the problem. She's the problem.
No, because I feel like so many of my friends that I talk to, and one of my frustrations is sometimes you end up you match with people, and so many. Okay, a few things happen. Let me back up the car. Number one, okay, you match, right? Let's just say you get that far. If you match with people, I, as a girl, I'm still very old school in this, by the way. I should preface by saying I'm progressive in a lot of ways, but when it comes to making the first move, I still believe the guy should message the girl first, or no?
That's not weird. That's
not weird, right?
That's standard practice.
You don't agree?
No, I agree with it. I do.
No, that's standard practice.
I don't think
but if you do like somebody, I don't see why you should wait for them to hit you up, because that might never happen.
I think in person it's totally different than on a dating app. First of all,
but see, that's already another conversation. Is it different in real life versus dating apps?
This is a different scenario.
I heard something that I guess women in old times, they used to drop their handkerchief on purpose in front of someone, and it was their way of
the guy would have to be like, oh, miss, you dropped your handkerchief, and he would come up to you. Yes, that's a thing.
We're bringing that back.
We should. What are you gonna drop? I think
in
Miami. No. In Miami,
they
in Miami they drop their little baggie and then they never get anything back.
You drop your bag.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Your extracurricular fun bag. Let me put it that way.
I know what bag you're talking about.
I don't want to scandalize people. No, but so going back to that, like, I still think that the guy should message me first. Like, I think maybe once or twice I've messaged him first. But okay, then the next step becomes you start having a conversation.
Well,
right?
the biggest thing is, number one, that I've learned is that, like, generally speaking, your time's valuable. As an adult, your time's valuable. And you don't have time to, like, F around as you get older and give less Fs.
Yeah.
So you need to, like, if you're gonna do a dating app, you have to be really in it. It's like, if I'm looking for a home, I'm only gonna go on Zillow if I'm ready to buy a home. Otherwise, I'm just going to find myself on Zillow just like putting out dream things all the time, just wasting my time.
Okay, I think I'm part of the problem because am I the only one that goes to Zillow and looks at all sorts of homes that are obscenely out of my price range, multi-million-dollar mansions and just dreams? Like,
no, you're not alone. Like, you're not alone. I've done it too, for sure. Because you're like, what if I sell it all?
There's actually a very popular TikTok. I forget who the user is, but he literally, it's like him on a computer and he's like eating potato chips and he's like staring at homes and like, you know, the double millions range, like 30 million to like 100 million with literally like $4.06 in my banking account.
It's amazing.
Okay, so then.
But some people use that as dreaming. Some people use that as dream boards.
That can be considered, you know, people that like manifesting. That's part of your what's the collage board called? Like your manifesting
law of
vision
attraction.
board.
A vision board. That's like the law of attraction, right? So okay, but going back to the dating apps, like you start a conversation, but at some point I feel like you end up just back and forth, and then the guy doesn't ask for your number, or you never take the conversation off of the dating app or texting. And I'm like, I don't need another pen pal. Like, the whole point is to go for like a drink or a dinner or a date, isn't it?
Totally.
So
well, you're matching with some dudes that aren't making the first move.
It's just crazy. And sometimes they will, but then it's just like, again, they won't make the second move, I guess, which is really the first move, which is really just like, let's get this number, let's go to dinner, go on a date, and let's like, you know, you gotta piss or get off the pot.
Well, the hard thing about messaging is it's own art and science, right? Like, I don't know it. I'm so bad at texting. Like, I'm just not. My emoji game isn't as strong. Like, I'm good in person, right? Like meet up, like let's vibe check and go from there. But some people just have the texting down.
I'm a really good texter.
I find that like my friends that grew up with sisters too, like are the best because they speak women.
That's true. I think that's definitely helpful. Like having women around, having women in the house, like for sure is going to help you have a little bit more game, let's say, or know how to speak to them, more of a comfort level.
But I think it's also a huge waste of time if you're just like, I don't know. So back to the point. For dating apps, I've gone back and forth. Sometimes it's sick, but I've been off them for a while now, and it's like it's great.
Yeah, I can't. I tried like 2 max, and it was a lot. I definitely was on Raya for a long time, and Raya used to like mean something because you had to like apply for it or someone had to refer you, and like I guess obviously the draw in the beginning was everyone wanted to be on there because all the celebrities and the models were on Raya, and now it's like a free for all. But
did you get any celebrity dates on Raya?
Did I get any celebrity? Listen, I'll put it this
Spill
way.
the tea.
I definitely have more than a few conversations with some people that if I really wanted to be messy, I could just press the little... I have a couple screenshots, let's put it that way, that I could just, you know, send off to TMZ if I had to and just click.
Some nukes.
Drop the bomb. Some nukes in my back pocket. Yeah.
Yeah, the currency of 2022.
Yeah, but generally speaking, as a rule, I am not fond of... I would never say never, but since I've already gone down the celebrity route, I would not prefer a celebrity relationship at this point. I just want a normal private citizen.
Private citizen.
Yeah.
Why would you choose a regular citizen over a celebrity? What's just too much spotlight on you?
There's a lot. There's a lot of heat on you, but even just the attention or the heat not being there or not being there. I am a person that likes to keep relationships private no matter who you're dating, because I think the second you let too many people in, you start to ruin things. I think it's good to just protect a little bit what you have. So I'm never the like, let's shout it from the rooftop types. But what happens with celebrities, it's like a multi-layered thing, right? Like you have this person that usually by nature is just very neurotic, you know, has like an ego that's usually through the roof. And that ego needs a lot of coddling. You know, that ego needs a lot of, you become a mix of an assistant and a hype man, or in my case, a hype woman for this person. And usually you're always going to be playing second fiddle to their career, to their public.
Got it. You're almost like living in their shadow.
You're going to live in their shadow, and and here's the thing, you could always play second fiddle. You could be with a very powerful person or busy person. But I think that there's something that's unique to celebrity culture where it's just so easy for them to make that excuse when they're dating you. Like, oh, I have to do this. Oh, I have to see this person. Oh, I have to be out. And then by the other flip side of that, if they are being, let's just say, unfaithful, usually you find out in the most public of ways, and you can't take that L privately.
Yeah.
If you're dating a regular person, like, yeah, maybe your social circle knows, but you don't have to like go to the supermarket and see on the cover of something, or in our case, sorry to date myself, you don't have to open Instagram and see it on a gossip page, you know?
There's got to be something healthy about dating yourself, though. If you enjoyed spending time with yourself, you're sort of dating yourself at some level.
Oh, being alone. Oh, I love being alone. Listen, I'm the one person I know and the one woman I know in my age range that I feel like doesn't have that pressure, or at least I'm not putting that pressure on myself to be married, to have kids, anything. I'm very family oriented. My parents have been together more than 40 years. They're ultra happy, happily married, old school. And I come from just a great family, just unit in general. But I don't know. I'm really happy by myself. Like, I don't feel the desperate need. I feel like anybody who's going to come into my life now has to be at my level in terms of matching my energy and ambition, right. My level of honesty. I don't know. They just have to be adding to what I have going on. Right. So if they're not going to add to that, they can stay or they can go.
Yeah. Like true partner in crime.
Yes.
True Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah. And also just having their life too. I think the most healthy thing in a relationship is actually two people having their own thing going on.
For sure.
And not being attached at the hip.
That's like that's where I've seen a lot of my friends' relationships fail. And I guess if you're not with somebody that has their own life, then your life's going to become their life.
Yeah.
And at some level, I just think that's not good. If people don't have hobbies, just generally outside of relationships, if you don't have hobbies, like, what do you do during the day?
I don't know. Like,
besides getting everyone else's hobby, you know?
Well, that's the thing. You start to look for problems, and I think you start to find them where there are none. You know what I mean? And I think you just have nothing else left to really talk about.
Yeah, and I think like going back to the whole point, something that I've learned and why I'm definitely off dating apps now is just because when you're looking for it, you don't find it. So my thing is go about life, do your thing, and if a great thing comes through, then go with the vibe. But it will happen. There's so many people in this world. So if you just you build your goals, you build your own personal dreams, like you're saying, you're happy being with yourself, good shit's gonna come. It's inevitable, right?
Here's the point I want to make. I think that ironically enough, when you look too hard for good things, they don't come to you. When you look for problems, they're so easy to find.
Yeah,
I don't know why life works that way,
well,
but it does.
It takes like so long to build your reputation, and one bad tweet or experience to kill it.
Oh, it can bring the whole house down. Social media has given us a lot, right? It's given us the ability to connect with grandma. She could live in China. She could live in Europe. You can speak to her. You can FaceTime her. You can share pictures. You can be on Facebook. You can be on Instagram. There's so many ways to connect because of social media. But I think with that, there's been a bit of a burden and a bit of a curse, which is now all of a sudden we have too much information and we have too much access. And I think that that's done two things, right? It's made us more disconnected than ever. Like we said earlier, I think it's made it harder for people to connect on a personal level in real life. It gets harder. I think there's been a rise in social anxiety. I'm pretty sure, I don't know what the statistics are, but I think I've read over and over that it's happening. And the other thing it's done is it's kind of made you know a little too much about people that maybe against your will, by the way, that you never wanted to know. If you have your neighbor now on Facebook, let's just say, right? Or on Instagram, they could be posting anything. They could be posting their bikini pictures. They can be posting their political ideas. They can be posting their dog. And, I think it's all very, very innocent and fun until it's not. Until something happens, you read something and you decide now, I don't like this person because, I'm a conservative and my neighbor's a liberal, or I am a dog person and my neighbor, likes to go out and hunt animals. And I think that that's very cruel. And all of a sudden, I think what happens is most people continue to not address that conversation or even approach or broach that conversation in person. They just create this imaginary war with this person, this imaginary fight with this person where they're like, oh my God, they're a hunter, I'm a dog person, they're a hunter, I'm a dog person. Now you avoid them when you see them in the driveway, when they're going to get the newspaper. You think that you make all these assumptions about their morals and their lives. And all of a sudden you see people that are doing things, I don't know, maybe you're calling in, code violations now on this neighbor because you've made a story in your mind that this person is now your enemy because you don't believe something. I could have gone my whole life without knowing what my neighbor believes, who they sleep with, what they do, what their pronouns are. I don't care. It doesn't affect me. And I think that, maybe there is a case to be made for either logging off of social media or deleting it or never getting on it in the first place, so that you don't put yourself into these I don't know. It's like,
well, it's like you wouldn't say these things to someone face to face.
Never. And so you would have maybe never had that conversation. Don't say something
someone's behind their back if you wouldn't say it to them face to face.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think they're even saying them behind their back sometimes. I think that people are just creating these things all in their heads.
That's true.
They're creating ghosts, right? They're creating things that never really happened. It doesn't have to be a problem. And you probably would have never had a problem with that neighbor if you hadn't known this benign fact about them.
It's scary. You know? Like the attack on Joe Rogan is like huge. Like, and everything went after him. Like, that's crazy that exists. Like people can really bend the conversation.
And I think that, you know, again, going back to the neighbor might post a nude, or your coworker might post something that you think is salacious. You can send that to HR and you can actually get somebody fired, right? You can literally cost them their livelihood. And I think that that's a little bit, you know, I don't know how they're going to eventually police that, or how they're going to police the internet without also censoring it, but something eventually has to come about. Something has to change, because I just think that too much is being shared, and there's too much word vomit being just yelled at each other and into the void, unchecked. And I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't have the solution, but something will have to be done eventually.
You ever like look at your friends and realize, like, cause I don't realize like I'm getting older, but when I look at my friends, I realize they're getting older, and I'm like, whoa, shit. Time is going quick, y'all. Stop the hate. It's a damn good day to have a damn good day. Like, enjoy yourself. Find a good group. Build a brand. Build a business. Build something that makes you feel good, you know?
Yeah, get outside. Get some sunshine. Get some vitamin D. Like, go for a
SPF
walk.
50.
SPF 50, but you know what? Get outside.
Over, you know?
But seriously, do something. If the choice always comes down to doing something positive or negative, choose the positive. Again, hate to be kumbaya, but it's the truth. You're never, ever going to feel better after doing the horrible thing. Ever.
Well,
I promise you, ultimately.
Hating someone hurts you, not the other person.
Of course.
You know?
It's a grudge and it's some bullshit. And again, a lot of times it's an imaginary fight that you're going to hold on to. And sometimes if you talk to the person, you realize that they're not even as bad as you thought. They're actually human. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you guys usually people will have more in common than they will not, you know, than otherwise. So I just think, again, the solution for me always goes back to having the dialogue, starting the conversation, meeting the person, going for the cup of coffee. You know, you never know. Just find that common ground.
And then the relationship blossoms.
That's how it goes.
We got to forgive ourselves too, though. Like what you did yesterday is not who you are today. You have to live and you learn and you move forward, which is so much easier said than done. Like sometimes I say stuff that sounds really motivational and I don't follow it. I'm just like, I'll beat myself up. Right. But sometimes you need to ask yourself, like, have you ever noticed you give the best advice to your friends, but sometimes you can't give the same advice to yourself?
Those who, what is it? Can't do, teach. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think listen, we're all human and we're all flawed, and we're all, I think, not all of us, but most of us are doing the best that we can.
For sure.
Right? Usually, most of the time. I want to believe that. I have to believe that. So yeah, of course you're going to stumble. Of course you're going to fuck up, you know, in life, in your choices, in your business, in the pursuit of your dreams. But again, it's what we talked about earlier. I think that that's the adversity that helps to build your character and to make you realize that you are more resilient than you think you are, you know? So
yeah, you got to build that tribe. If you forget it, you got to have the tribe. You got to have your besties on speed dial. Everyone needs like everyone needs a certain couple of friends. You need your inspirational friend that's going to get you back on track. You need your really, really trashy friend that's just living a life that you're not living, but you like to live vicariously through them.
The party friend, we love them.
They're the best, right? And you can do that. And everyone just needs like someone who can comfort you, right? Like you need to have the Rolodex of just people in your life so that you can have these experiences and just constantly just get different perspectives on what's possible.
Yeah, again, and I think that comes from opening up that dialogue, right? Like you don't have to have 50 friends, you know, if you just have that good small circle that you keep around you of 3 or 4 people, like you're good. That's what you need. And if you're lucky enough, also hopefully you have a couple family members. Mm-hmm. But if you just have quality around you, people you know that are not afraid to tell you the truth, to also call you out on your shit, whether it's because you're fucking up or whether because you're selling yourself short and you could be doing better. If you have that, you're good. You've made it, you know? That's all you really need.
That's it.
Yeah.
Everyone just needs a Sky. Sky calls me out on my shit all the time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
He keeps us going, right?
Keeps it going.
Yeah.
Makes the train go.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome that all of this is possible. And it's awesome that, like, I just love how into it we just got.
Yeah.
And it's great when you just look at the timeline of events, which why I think everyone should start podcasts. Everyone should start blogging. Everyone should start a TikTok, whatever you're doing.
Yeah. Substack, Twitter, whatever appeals to you.
Because like literally, if whatever you're interested in, if you're into Legos, if you're into spearfishing, if you're into like sunglasses, if you start posting about it, you'll attract other people who are into it. And then you can leverage that to do cool shit inside of that brand you're into. It's not rocket science, but you start today. You don't need to have the way to monetize or build or any of that. You just got to start today. You got to be approachable because our online profiles are what people first judge us from. It's not who we are, right? So even if it's your dating app all the way to your Instagram and sending a DM to someone, like you need to look as if you're not wasting that person's time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. Listen, I think we have so many tools at our fingertips. I think if we utilize them well and with discernment, honestly, the sky is the limit. I mean, as you've seen, we're both kind of, I think, forging careers in the online space. And to your point, you just have to find your niche, find your corner, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Substack, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, it doesn't matter. There definitely is a space for you. And for us all. And I think that is going to be the way of the future, whether we like it or not. So as long as it's working, we might as well get on the train and get with the program. But yeah, there can be a lot of positive benefits to it, and you can really market yourself in a way that you never could before, and you can really access anybody in any corner of the world. You just got to find your thing, start small, take that first step, and then take the one after and after and after. And at one point you're going to look back and be like, holy shit, I built this all. And it started with this. I mean, in my case, a weird video about condos, but hey, whatever, however you get there.
And you got to keep putting some spice on that. But you got to put some gasoline on that spice because I'm buying what you are cooking.
Yeah. I'm trying. We'll see. I got some new stuff coming out soon. I'm definitely leaning more into the a little bit more into the reviews as well, and I'm trying to offer like a variety of things.
You know all the spots for food. So like do you cook at home? Do you ever cook for yourself?
If I have to, I will. I have to say it's not a particularly relaxing activity for me. I do it, but I get so I'm such a perfectionist. I get so caught up in wanting it to be perfect that I never really relax when I do it.
What's your go-to dish?
I'll tell you the thing that I do that's always a crowd pleaser and I will always make when people come over. There is a Cipriani pasta. It's a recipe I found online. You have to buy the Cipriani pasta to do it. It definitely makes a difference, but I put a little bit of cream in there. I use some really top-notch truffle butter and a couple other secret ingredients, but it's delicious. And I mean, once I put it on the table, all I hear is like forks clanging on plates and nothing's ever left behind. So that's my signature
because your
dish.
palate has been spoiled. You go to the best places. I mean, you eat the bombest food.
I try. I definitely, somebody today in my Q&A asked me if I could be any superhero or have any superpower, what would I want? And I'm like, I would want to be able to eat all of the things, all of the good things, all of the greasy things, all of the yummy things and never gain a pound. That's the only superpower I want.
That's a great superpower. I love that question. I've asked that question too. Like
which one would you have? Wait, what would you have? Or what superhero would you
Probably pizza. I mean,
that would be your superpower?
No, if I could eat any food.
Oh, anything forever.
Forever, yeah. And just never. Like, here's a question: if you could eat anything, never get full or fat, what would it be?
I could only pick the one thing.
Yeah, just one dish.
Shit.
That or like a fresh my mom's apple pie is fire. Like that, I could just.
My mom's cooking.
Smash that all day.
Yeah, my mom is a phenomenal cook. And baker, which are two different things, by the way. Baking, I don't know how much you know about baking, but baking is literally a science because, if the measurements aren't right, if the temperature isn't right, if one thing's off, it's not the place to get experimental. Like the cake won't rise, the bread won't work, like whatever. I would say anything my mom would make, I would eat from now until the end of time. It's all my happy food. If my mom puts it onto a plate or it comes out of my mom's oven, that's it. I'm happy.
What is it?
It depends. It could be anything. I can't just pick just one thing.
That's the question.
If I really had to pick, I would say the comfort food, like the Brazilian food. Like she makes.
Okay,
I would say her pão de queijo. Okay, I'll pick one thing, and it was really hard to pick. Brazilian pão de queijo, which is like a Brazilian cheese roll. So my mom is from the state of Minas in Brazil, more specifically Belo Horizonte, and the state of Minas is known for doing the mineiro, the pão de queijo mineiro, which is the most famous style. So it's almost like for Americans, you know how there's New York pizza and Chicago pizza, and they're different. And then there's like wars over who makes the best Chicago deep dish and the best New York slice. So of all the Brazilian pão de queijo, like the one from my mom's state is known for being the best. And my mom's personally, I mean, maybe I'm a little biased, but
Does
I don't
she
think
live in Miami?
She lives in Miami.
Please let me come.
Listen,
I will be the. I clean up. Like, listen, I'm
you
like.
guys might have to.
I
just
clean
come
up
over.
after. You know, like I'm a great guest.
I
Bring the
mean,
wine.
my mom loves to host, so you can bring her some. I'll tell you what she likes to drink. I mean, maybe we'll just host the next one.
That would be a good.
At my mom's
that'd be
house.
Good energy.
I'm not even kidding. She would do that, and she would love that.
That would be so much fun. Well, you're going to be launching and doing your own podcast, so
yes, I am. We might
appropriate.
as well.
It's appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, well, and listen, by the way, that's the only thing I originally intended to do. And I think we talked about this the other day over coffee. I was never trying to even do the funny videos. I originally was only trying to do a podcast because I have been extremely fortunate and lucky to meet a lot of just really interesting, successful, cool, fun people from all walks of life, whether it's, you know, a local artist to, you know, XYZ, top of the food chain, you know, bold face name. And I just want to have some cool conversations with them, a lot like the one we're having now. So,
hell yeah.
I mean, if there's only one thing you have to promise me, I will trade you my mom's pão de queijo, but you have to promise me that you'll be one of my first guests.
Ooh, I would love it. It would be an honor.
Yay! Okay, perfect.
It would be an honor. And one thing I would add to that dish, by the way, medjool dates. Have you ever had them?
I love dates.
They're the best things. Like, I've been obsessed. I've been pounding medjool dates.
You know what I love? I love bacon wrapped dates with goat cheese. That's a thing. That is a thing. I used to have that at this restaurant. I'm trying to remember the name. It's not open anymore in Miami. I know who does a good one. South Miami, there's a restaurant called Whisk. In South Miami. Whisk in South Miami. I hope they still have it on the menu. Are you checking? Mm-hmm. He's like,
well, we're thinking. I'm whisked. I want to be able
whisk,
to see,
like an actual whisk, like the baking tool. Or whatever.
That'd be a great like Amazon whisk.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
That's a great name. It's so funny how like companies just take an object or a place and it's
just their brand.
Patagonia. That's my brand.
Yeah.
Boom.
And they have another thing that they have that I used to love too. I hope it's still on the menu.
Wait, what was I looking for?
They're bacon wrapped dates.
Is that like a brunch thing, you think?
No. It's definitely on the like lunch or dinner menu.
Do they have seeds in them? The dates?
They don't. I don't think that. No, they're pitted. They pit them, but they also have really good deep fried green tomatoes that are served with a homemade buttermilk sauce. No, I'm just getting hungry, but.
Well, I'm looking at this menu. I'm so hungry right now.
That's crazy. I just like dates just by themselves though. Like it has to be medjool and it can't be pre-pitted.
Okay.
You gotta get the medjool dates. Go to like Whole Foods and just get like it comes with like 15.
Yeah.
I think just because they're
you just snack on them. You like to just snack on them like by themselves.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I just would pound these things. They're
sounds like it's almost like a pregnancy craving. You know how women get pregnant and they're like, I need to have that thing.
It is. Well, I've been on this like health kick and it's been working. You know, my body's crushing. I feel great. I haven't been eating like I haven't been eating a lot of gluten and
oh, that's good.
Like just stopped blueberry muffins. Oh my god, I love blueberry muffins.
I love blueberry muffins.
I haven't had a blueberry muffin in 2.5 months.
You know what my favorite is though, more than blueberry muffins, and I do love blueberry, lemon poppy seed.
That's a good one.
They're
and
so
it doesn't
good.
look like they serve these dates anymore.
They don't have them?
I don't
oh my god,
them.
I have to find somebody who still makes them, or I'm just gonna find the recipe and we're gonna have to make it ourselves. I don't know.
Yeah, they're just incredible. It's incredible that the world just eating fruits and stuff that the world just grows.
Yeah.
I mean, medjool dates are nature's candy. Besides Miami mangoes, I mean, they're right up there.
Okay, I'm gonna say something really, probably the most controversial thing I can say on this entire
That's fine. You don't like
interview.
Mangoes?
It's more than that. I have a near phobia of mangoes. I hate mangoes. I don't know what happened. My parents love them. My parents have a mango tree. Everyone I know loves them. I've never met anyone who doesn't even. I don't even know someone who dislikes them mildly. I hate mangoes.
Oh, that sucks. I'm
like
sorry.
if there's too many, like I will run. Like don't touch me with. Like it's weird. It's a very weird thing.
What does that stem from?
I don't know. And I was talking to my mom and I was like, Mom, like whatever happened? Did I like get in trouble? Did you like lock me in the timeout room with mangoes? Like, did something happen? Did you like beat me with the flip flop and then feed me a mango? Like there's a weird Pavlovian like response. You know what I mean? It's just like, I have to maybe talk to my therapist and see. Maybe that's our next session. I'll be like, listen, everything else is great. Her name is Eileen, by the way. Shout out to Eileen.
Shout out Eileen.
She's incredible. Best therapist in Miami. I'm going to be like, Eileen, we need to get to the root of my mango. What is a mango phobia? Is there like a name for fruit phobia?
Let's check it.
What other like weird phobias do you have?
What things am I irrationally afraid of?
Fructophobia.
Fructophobia
is the fear of fruits.
So I have a mango specific fructophobia. I think
that. One of my weirdest
what's one of yours?
My weirdest things is like this is ridiculous, but the worst taste like I've ever tasted is when like I don't know why anyone's ever doing this, but like if you ever bitten down on like this, I don't know why you're doing it, but again jeans like that, like the
taste of
texture,
denim.
The taste of denim is to me like just the most horrendous, like just like brings this
I'm not wearing denim.
This
I can't
negative trap. Like I'm just like stop.
So
Stop.
you've taken a bite of some jeans before? Is that what you're telling us?
You've taken a... Well, it's cotton, right? That's basically what they're made of.
Like this before, you know, like either it's a jean jacket.
I'm gonna lick
like
up. I'm gonna lick a pair of jeans when I get home.
Yeah, you're just like, what is like? Stop.
Really?
Make it stop.
That's very interesting. I wonder
know.
what the psychology behind. Again, I'm always very curious about the psychology behind things. You know, when I was younger, I swore I was going to be one, so I'm always curious about what. But
it's also interesting too when you think of something and it invokes an emotion.
Such a visceral response.
Like for your taste buds, for me, it's Sour Patch Kids. If I think of a Sour Patch Kid,
what do you immediately think of?
I just feel no. I don't.
It's
think,
like
I start salivating. I'm like
yeah, that's a Pavlovian response, right? So Pavlov did that experiment with dogs where he would always I think he would correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the gist of the story is he would put a steak into their bowl and he would ring a bell, and he did this over and over. I think you could check. I'm almost positive. This was like Psych 101 when I was still in high school. And what he did is eventually he wouldn't have to place the steak into his bowl. He would just ring the bell and the dog would start to visibly salivate. Yeah.
The dog salivates when it sees steak and hears the sound of the bell. After a while, the dog, who before only salivated when they saw or ate food, began to salivate when the bell was rung.
Yep. That's how you condition people. That's like some basic conditioning right there. Psychological just manipulation. Sure. And that's why it goes back to the mango. I'm telling you, I must have like gotten my ass beat on the playground that day and came home and ate mango. Maybe there was a mango tree nearby.
Listen, it's cool. Mangoes aren't even that tight.
Oh, you know what? I'll tell you another weird one. I'll tell you one. I adore, love a great olive oil. If it's a really good one, and I'm very picky about my olive oil, I can probably just stop just shy of like dipping a straw into it and drinking it or just like mainlining it. I hate olives. I don't eat olives themselves.
I agree. I don't like olives either.
You don't? Do you like olives?
But I love olive oil.
I can eat a few olives, but yeah, like 3 or 4 or 5. But then I'm just like, I don't know. Yeah, something weird happens. But what's the context?
Are you having them because you're having like a martini, a drink? Is it at the bar with something?
I was eating them with cheese, you know?
Okay. Like stuffed olives.
Yeah, I don't know. Just olives, but like a black olive is just like, what's going on?
I like black olives over green olives. Green olives are like, I can't do those.
I mean, I think
they look like an eyeball. I don't know. It's like they don't even look good.
I don't even care visually about them. The texture doesn't bother me. The visual doesn't. But something in their actual flavor, it's just so strong. And like I think the only time I eat them is sometimes when you chop small pieces of them into Brazilian. We call it pastel, but pastel is like almost like a Brazilian empanada. It's a little bit bigger and like totally deep fried. It's not baked. Yeah. My mom might have to make us some of those too.
Brazilian empanada. Oh my god.
But yeah, sometimes when you do them with like minced meat, you also put a little bit of like little pieces of chopped olive in there too. Very good. Good stuff.
Yeah, that sounds
I think
fire.
We need to eat after
we're
this.
We're big honey people here.
Oh, honey?
Love honey. Here.
I love a great honey.
We've been trying all these different brands to try to like find the best honey.
Okay,
and like we just Sky's
still
you're the architect of this, but like just been eating like really high quality steaks and just putting just butter and honey because it's basically
so good.
I mean they were eating that 200 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like that's OG meal. There's something just amazing.
Well, honey was
about
used
that.
as an antibacterial, is it not? Still, yeah. There was I think it was I don't know if it was the Egyptians or post that, but there was a point where people were using them I think to dress wounds. Or treat wounds, something like that.
antibacterial activity, enzymatic
Don't
production.
be telling Sky that. He's gonna
Yeah.
be.
I'll be
yeah.
smothered
He's
in
gonna be
honey.
like-
Oh yeah, he's gonna be like,
He's gonna be.
baked in it.
This
The
is
next
good.
time you see him.
Antifungal. This is
It's
great.
an antifungal. Yes, yes.
People went from Tide Pods to just rubbing honey all
Honey
over.
has great, it's great. It's great for some people kind of mixed into their skincare. I mean, why not?
With the olive oil thing, did you find like the best olive oil? Is there like
I mean, I will say this. I'm very upset because Whole Foods, under their 365 brand, their generic brand, they have several olive oils that come from, and they're like by country or region, right? So they'll say, no, I think it's by country, not by region. So it's like Greece, Italy, so and so forth. They used to have one that was from Chile. And I loved it because it had almost like a very spicy, kind of like a bite on the finish. And I love anything spicy. And I was obsessed with it. It was well priced. It came in this huge, glass. And then they just discontinued it. Poof, from one day to the next. I'll never
it's
get
crazy.
over it.
I mean, olive oil, it's run by the gangs, right? Like it's like a really.
I've heard something like that the mafia definitely takes a cut in Italy. Specifically, I've heard that. I don't know about elsewhere.
And almonds as well, I think. Almonds are also.
Well, they have the almond trees. They have let's see. Let's get the fact check.
The shocking truth about Italian olive oil in the mafia.
Oh.
When the mafia just moved from like, whacking people to just straight farming, like that.
Oh, they're still whacking people, I'm sure. They're for sure. They're just, they've got their hands in all the pies, right?
I think someone was telling me something about the lake in Las Vegas. It's like historically low right now in water, which makes sense. Global warming's real, all those things, and who knows what's going on
The
with
lake
that.
in Las Vegas. When I think of Las Vegas, I think of the desert and all the bodies that are out
That's
there.
what I'm thinking, right?
Yeah.
But they're finding a lot of bodies that are like coming up from like
Oh.
gangster eras in
Oh, for
the
sure.
waters around that area. I have
I
to
was gonna
check which
say.
lake it is or whatever, or body of water, but
Oh, for sure. No, that for sure happens. I know, because that's the thing with the desert there. It's also known for just being the not even the hiding place. It's not really a hiding place. It's just kind of like a mass grave. Like that's just where they used to just dump people.
Random thought, but thank gosh we don't live in like the Salem witch trial era.
Don't we?
Ooh. I mean, just like
Don't we though? Don't we though?
That would be
it's
a
giving
good
Salem. It's
that
giving
would-
McCarthyism.
that would be a great like title as well. Like this,
Well, that's what the
like
why
you should name your show the Salem witch trials.
maybe I should, or
The Miami witch
Well,
trials.
the book, The Crucible, was written kind of as an allegory or as a larger metaphor for what was going on during the McCarthy trials. That's exactly what it was. And again, it goes back to my point earlier about how we can use art or comedy or other things to make a deeper statement, and you're doing it while you're entertaining people. When people stop and read between the lines, or they stop and they think and they're like, oh shit, this is us right now. History has this very funny way of repeating itself. There's always kind of an exodus, right? Everyone left. The Puritans kind of, broke away. They come to the colonies, and how long did it take before the infighting in the group, happened all over again, and people were crucifying, each other for whatever it was, whatever the petty rivalries really were, right? We know it wasn't really witchcraft. It was like, oh, this girl looked at my husband. All right, she's a witch. Point at her. Oh, this guy has more property than me. He's a witch. Crucify him. But when we really look back at those parallels, I mean, is it any different now? We're canceling people. We're quite literally we're doing the modern day version of
Burning
the Salem
people
witch
at the
trials.
stake.
We're burning them at the proverbial stake. We're taking their jobs. We're taking their careers. People are losing sponsorships. And hey, for good or for bad, I'm just asking, should people always have this much power? There has to be a balance. You can't completely give your power away, but how much should a group have before it becomes abusive?
Right.
I think that the never-ending fight isn't really good and evil. It's really just it's balance. Yeah. It's not the left and the right. It's not the Republican and the Democrat. It's not the dark and the light. It's finding some sort of a gray area, because that's really where we live, isn't it? I mean, humans aren't perfect. We can't be consistent. We're always going to fluctuate. We're always going to go kind of on ups and downs. We're always going to kind of change our minds. That's the point. That's the beauty of life. You can change your mind. You can grow. You can learn. But at what point are we going to stop, literally or figuratively killing each other for our differences?
I think that's a great way to end this.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. I loved it. How first off, I want to say thank you so much for
Thank you.
This has been so much fun. Such a pleasure. We appreciate you. This is awesome. This is the
you.
Damn Good Day
This
show.
has been a damn good day.
How can people follow you in the journey?
Yes, you can find me at Looking for Steph on TikTok or Instagram. And if you want to have more of my recommendations and fun gossip, Stephtoldme on Instagram or stephtoldme.com.
This is a damn good day to have a damn good day.